Hello everyone, just Gordon here and welcome back to another real life inspiration video. Today will be the final episode of the Barnyard Animal Pack and we are looking at the alpaca over here. We have a ton of habitats to look at, so let's stop looking at the adorable baby and start looking at some habitats. Starting with the Zoo of Antwerp, where we have this beautiful bridge over here from which you can see the lions on one side but also the alpaca on this side, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. We're in this kind of mountain area. We got the markhor in the back and all of this mountain theming and education around, and that really shows how you can integrate the alpaca into your zoos outside of just the petting zoo areas. They really can be used as a South American species for your South America areas or a mountain species for your mountain areas. It's just a really interesting animal, even though it's domesticated and actually can be pet and stuff. It doesn't mean it has to be used in that way, which I think is really quite cool, and this habitat shows that very nicely. We've just got a very simple habitat for them, of course, but we do have all this fancy rockwork and stuff. It's probably the most high budget alpaca video that alpaca habitat that we'll see in this video. So let's move on to more of the general stuff over here at the Aachener Tierpark, where we have a big South America habitat as well. This has the alpaca but also rhea, which is something that you'll see a lot. Rhea or mixed with the alpaca a whole lot in all sorts of places whenever they're not in a petting zoo, basically. But yeah, we just got a very nice open field with some elevation differences because the zoo is on a bit of a slope. We've got a simple backstage over here. This is also not quite a petting zoo, even though there is also a donkey in there. So I guess we've got some more barnyard vibes over here. But yeah, there's also this really cool viewing deck from which you can see the entire habitat from up above. And yeah, it's quite simple, but of course that doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just a nice large space for the animals to roam. Yeah, that's all for Aachener Tierpark. Let's move on to the next zoo, which is going to be Almere Jungle, which actually has a really neat walk-through alpaca habitat over here. You can see different kind of latching mechanisms for closing the gate. It's kind of over-engineered if you ask me, if you compare it to some things we saw in the goat video that are a lot simpler and just as effective. As long as the animals can push the gate open, it's fine. So if this gate just falls closed by itself, then you don't need all of these latches and stuff. But I digress. We've got some nice pampas grass over here for the South America vibes. Pretty simple habitat, some nice planters throughout, and what's really cool over here, you can see that little log over there. After that, the terrain actually kind of drops down a little bit, and you can see into this guinea pig habitat, which is also kind of a South American animal of origin. So that's really cool. That's kind of integrated there, but they can't escape into this area. We can also see the rhea once again and some turkey in the back there, which I'm not sure if they fully belong here. The rhea even have this bridge going over the visitors. Here you can see another latching mechanism. This kind of stick goes down into a hole over there, and that makes it that it can't be moved anymore. Pretty cool. But the coolest thing about this area, other than the rhea walking over top of you, is the education over here. I mentioned this in other videos about this pack, that one of the cool things you can do with domesticated animals is talk about domestication in your education. So it goes about how we went from being hunters to being farmers and how domestication went, and then there's some more general information about alpaca and camelids and the Inca, which is where presumably the people who domesticated these species. So super cool stuff over there. And then we moved to BestZoo, which we also saw this habitat in the goat inspiration video. Yeah, there's also alpaca in here at times. I don't know, I feel like last time I was here they weren't. They were somewhere else, but honestly I don't have any footage of that. So this is the habitat I saw the alpaca in at BestZoo. And let's move on to the next zoo already. And that will be van Blankendaell Park, which also has a very simple habitat. Most of the habitats in the zoo are this simple, even the more exotic animals. Like, I think they have an addax in a similar looking habitat as this one, which I think it's even smaller than this one. So the alpaca got it good with their simple fence field with several trees in it. Don't forget about those. Yeah, no, but I do like the little backstage building over there. All of the zoo has these kind of style of buildings. Yeah, it's cute, it's nice, it's nothing special. So let's move on to Tierpark plus Fossilium Bochum. And this actually, when I reviewed this footage, I was like, oh crap, here we go again. I forgot another petting zoo area in the zoo. So yeah, let's just have a brief look at this. This is the petting zoo area of Bochum, and we can see there is some alpaca in here as well. There is also a walk-through goat habitat on the other side, but it's not that special anyway. We do have some bird houses, which are cute, and on this side is also another guinea pig habitat. But yeah, that's it for Bochum. Nothing much else to see there. Let's move on to Parc Animalier de Bouillon, where we actually have the first of several mixed alpaca and llama habitats. Yeah, here they just didn't care about the difference between the two, so we can see an alpaca and a llama lying right next to each other over there. But yeah, I was in a rush when I got to this part of the zoo, so that's all the footage I have. Let's move on to Dierenrijk, where we got a nice little habitat over here for the alpaca and the rhea as well. We've got some nice foliage around it, but the habitat itself is pretty much completely plucked and dry. There is no grass or anything left in there. Behind this habitat you can actually see the Scottish Highland cattle habitat. So actually most of the barnyard animals are really close together here. Then we have the alpaca demonstrating why their habitat doesn't have any plants in it. They are just destroying everything. But yeah, they are really, really cute. So hey, who can really blame them? Anyway, next up we have the Zoo of Duisburg, also in the petting zoo area. I cleverly cut this bit out of the last video so that it would still be fresh over here. And we got the alpaca habitat. It's actually quite interesting. You've got this kind of wall in the middle that they have to go around, so they have kind of a U-shaped habitat, which is quite cool. And over here on the other side of the U-bend, there's more habitat, and they've got a little stall. There's a no feeding sign. You're not allowed to feed these. I don't think you're allowed to feed anything in Duisburg, to be honest. But that's it. Next up we have Faunapark Flakkee, and I'm quite a fan of this one. It is quite simple in shape and stuff, but there is the pond in there because this is a mixed species habitat with the alpaca and the capybara, which I don't think I have any or many other examples of in this video, so I think that's really, really cool. I'm a big fan of that, especially for a smaller roadside zoo like this. They can't get vicuna, which is the wild alpaca, which we'll also be looking at, by the way. I forgot to mention that. But for a smaller zoo, it might be harder to get those, so you'll have the alpaca in there instead in your to get the same vibe across of the South America area. Another mix that you see a lot actually is the one that we have over here at Harry Malter. You could see a mara in there, which is like a small rodent-like thing. They're commonly included in South America areas, and they're pretty docile, so you'll often see walk-through habitats for those as well. We'll see a lot more of them in this video, I'm sure. So yeah, here we got a nice simple barn over there, quite a nice shape to that as well. And you also could see, by the way, I completely glossed over that, and there were some fallow deer in this enclosure as well, which is an interesting mix, I guess. I guess they just opened up a bunch of enclosures together because there's another barn over there. I guess I just connected all those enclosures to just give all the animals more space, and they really care about the mix. Anyway, over here at Zoo Hoenderdaell, we've got another walk-through habitat of the alpaca and also the mara. Right away we immediately get another one. You can see there is some mesh in the fence, probably to prevent the mara in particular to get through in all places, because there is also some areas where it does open up, like over here, so that's the place where they can pass through. But yeah, the alpaca were all kind of huddled together over here at their feed. You could also see there was a little feeding station where you could buy food for the alpaca. So if you ever wanted to feed alpaca, this is one of the places you can do it. We'll see some more as we go throughout this video. Anyway, next up we have Hof van Eckberge, which also has a pretty simple kind of field for the alpaca over here. I'm not sure if this enclosure will be here for all eternity. This is a zoo that is currently really kind of rediscovering itself and making so much more theme and high-end exhibits. So I don't know what that means for these more simple farm animal type exhibits. If I was the owner of the zoo, I would mainly see this space as real estate, to be honest. So we'll see how this stuff ends up still being here in a couple of years. But that's it for Hof van Eckberge. Let's move to Kasteelpark Born. We already saw this in one of the barnyard videos. I think the first one I did actually. And this is another habitat where it's both llama and alpaca in this same habitat. We also see an emu here for some reason. There's also goats in here. There's so much in here. Over here at this part, we can see that particularly where we got some goats in the little shelter, but right beside that we have an alpaca and a llama over there. So this is really where everything is coming together to vibe, I guess. Anyway, next up we have Zoo Kleve, which is also a zoo where you're allowed to feed a whole bunch of the animals in there. You could see a green thumbs up next to this exhibit, so that means that yes, you are allowed to feed the alpaca over here. And they've got quite a nice large yard, so yeah, not much to complain here. Here we can see the alpaca kind of roaming around. Pretty good stuff. But yeah, yeah, I could touch one. Ooh. Really cool, really fluffy and soft. So yeah, over here we also get a little look at their like back holding area, separation area, but that's it for Zoo Kleve. Let's move on to Zoo Krefeld, which is another barnyard animal area I missed. Whoops, we can see some donkey over here. There is also goats and all sorts of other stuff. I really did have trouble remembering every zoo I've been to that had a barnyard area. It's generally not the most memorable area of a zoo, I guess, so maybe that's why. But yeah, over here, this enclosure, I think, is for the alpaca. Maybe this one is. Yeah, we can see the alpaca kind of standing in the back there, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, once again, just some simple enclosures, some nice wooden fences, but pretty good stuff all around, I would say. And as we turn here, you can also see a little bit of the goat habitat, just for completionist's sake, so that we didn't miss it, I guess, for the goat video. And even a peafowl in there, once again. So much fun. All the variety in the world you could ask for. So yeah, that's it for Zoo Krefeld. Let's move on to Zoo de Maubeuge. And we've got actually a really nice habitat over here. I love this little kind of rustic archway over there. That is part of their shelter, but also the simple fence, but still pretty interesting habitat. They're kind of elevated above you. I always think that creates really interesting views of the animals, and over here is definitely no exception. It looks really, really cool. And yeah, you can get all up to the alpaca. We even got a baby over there. I've seen so many baby alpacas, actually, I come to realize now. Yeah, over here you can see kind of the retaining wall of that, and also on the other side of the habitat we can see the barn in the back over there. There is another viewing point over here. It's got a similar approach with the enclosure being kind of raised above you, and I just think it works so well. But yeah, that's it for Zoo de Maubeuge. Pretty simple, but still really, really cool. Next up we have Tierpark Nordhorn, where we've got a walkthrough alpaca Mara enclosure. Once again, we've got some information sites about the different kind of alpaca, llama, vicuna and guanaco. Really cool to see that. Also all the pampas grass around is really cool. We've got a little water feature over here, but yeah, pretty simple. Backstage over here we've got another baby alpaca. I think this may have been the first baby alpaca I've ever seen. Actually no, that's not true, because I went to Zoo de Maubeuge before I went to this one, but this one's the first one I remembered seeing. We've got ducks, which are part of the enclosure. Over here you can see the point where the alpaca can get in and out of their kind of back holding, and you are not allowed to go in here. There's also holding over here for the Mara that we can see over there hopping around a bit, and they've got the smaller gates to get in and out of there. And yeah, the Mara are also super cute. Look at them over there, and they are kind of free roaming the habitat at the moment. The alpaca were all kind of in there backstage, but still it's a really nice looking enclosure. I really like the kind of fences on the side and the rockwork on the side. Yeah, it's really quite lovely. It goes all the way around in a nice big U shape, and from the other side you can see everything. From the other side you can see there's like a little cave over there, a little shelter. Quite cool, but that's all there is to see there. Next up we have Dierenpark de Oliemeulen, where once again next to the emu we've got an alpaca habitat. It's very simple. There really is not much to say about this one. We do have more baby alpaca, and here you can see them kind of enjoying their hay from the feeder thing. You can see what that looks like a little bit better maybe. Next up we have Ouwehands Dierenpark. I was actually here today, and this one was not included in the video yet, but I just randomly saw an alpaca. This one's not even listed on like Zootierlisten, which is why I hadn't included it before. But yeah, I was at the petting zoo area that I showed in the last video about the goats, and there was just an alpaca here. So I guess this habitat is also for the alpaca, which is cool, because this is really quite a nice petting zoo area in my opinion. It's really quite cool. Anyway, next up we have Pairi Daiza, which is really special in the sense that the alpaca habitat for some reason cannot be viewed from the zoo at all. It is part of the train ride, so you have to take the train to see the alpaca as well as the donkey, as you can see over here. No idea why. It's pretty cool though. You can see the outer wall of the monastery over there, and then just this simple enclosure for these barnyard animals. So you can see kind of there. They're not grassy part, and these gates that will lead them to a backstage probably. Next up we have Pantropica, formerly known as the Orchideehoeve. And yeah, this is a super simple enclosure. It's hardly an enclosure really. I do think maybe they're able to go outside of this area to like a grassy field on the other side. I do hope so, because if that's all there is, then that's really quite sad. Over here we are in Plaswijk Park, which I really have not a lot of footage of, but I figured I'd include it anyway, just as you know that yes, this zoo indeed has alpaca. And we've got a small little backstage over here, but yeah, once again, my footage of this is absolutely horrible. You can see a salt lake, that's interesting. Anyway, over here we are at Tierpark Fauna, which is a very small, simple zoo in Germany. And over here, interesting enough, this is also a zoo where you're allowed to feed a lot of the animals, but not the alpaca. We've got a thumbs down over here. Futteren verboten. Yeah, you're not allowed to feed the alpaca. They are in here with some donkey, which is surprisingly common now. I'm starting to notice a pattern here. But yeah, that was Tierpark Fauna. Here we are in Zoo Veldhoven, where we can also see some ponies in the habitat. It's quite a sizable enclosure. This gate I don't think is for visitors. I think this is not a petting area. I do really like that backstage building. That's got quite an interesting shape to it. But that's Zoo Veldhoven. Let's move to Zie-Zoo, which also has an interesting habitat because there's an aviary inside of the habitats. The alpaca can actually walk around this entire aviary just as much as they want. They can do laps around it, I guess. And then over here is their little backstage, which has a Zie-Zoo shaped pillar over there. That's an interesting thing. I don't think we can make anything like that in Planet Zoo very easily, but it's definitely very cool. And yeah, over here you can see on the other side of that aviary, you can also see some alpaca through the bushes, but that's all the footage I had. Next up, Zoo de Zonnegloed. Yeah, we saw this in the last petting zoo area video as well. Just this little farm area has alpaca in. It's listed on the map that they're supposed to be in this enclosure. Oh yeah, we can actually see one in the back there, so that is correct. So yeah, this is the alpaca habitat. It's quite lovely actually. It's nice and lush and green. But now those were all the alpacas. But I wanted to also include a vicuna in this habitat. So this over here is a vicuna. This is a wild alpaca basically. This is the animal that was domesticated to create the alpaca, as far as I know at least. We got some rhea in this enclosure as well. There's also black-necked swan, which is a South American species of swan. And yeah, this is quite a cool habitat. We've got the lake in the middle for the swan, and then just space around it for the other animals. Next up at the Zoo of Artis, we've got a super mixed South America enclosure. We've got the capybara, the tapir, the mara, and also the vicuna in here. So I just wanted to include all of these habitats in the video for completionist sake. I mean, we're only making a huge alpaca video, might as well throw in vicuna, why not? But it's also cool to see the differences actually between the alpaca habitats and their wild counterpart its habitats. So you will see that there's maybe a bit more theming, maybe a bit more sophistication. It's not treated as much as a petting zoo animal, of course. So I think that's interesting to see. And yeah, over here we can see the more stuff. I didn't actually have footage of the vicuna in this habitat from the GoPro. I could dig into some older footage, but it's just to show the habitat. You get the picture. It's a really cool habitat actually. Quite nice. But next up we have avifauna, which is one of my favorite South America habitats in general, but also for the vicuna, I suppose. We can see the vicuna kind of on that hill with the waterfall over there, and we can see the anteater over here in the front. So the vicuna are usually, they can be found on the opposite side of the habitat from where the anteater is, which is really interesting. But yeah, this habitat is absolutely beautiful. I love the simple moat around it. I love the dock with the viewing area, the little bridges, and just the shape and the rockwork of this habitat is so visually interesting and cool. We can see the anteater roaming around there as well. But yeah, this footage kind of shows what I was talking about earlier. We've got the anteater coming in. The vicuna are on high alert, looking at the anteater, like what's it gonna do, where is it gonna go? And yeah, as the anteater starts walking their way, they already start heading the opposite way as well. It's really kind of fun to see those interactions. They definitely don't want to mess around with that anteater. I'm sure nothing bad will happen, but still, it keeps them busy, I guess. And it's fun to see those interactions. But yeah, that's it for avifauna. Let's move on to the Blijdorp, where the vicuna have a habitat against this tropical house, which is no longer there. I'm also not sure what the future of this entire area is with the new master plan stuff, but this is the habitat as it was before. Just a small mixed habitat with the vicuna and the rhea. And you can see a very simple backstage in the back there. You can also see the rhea standing in that backstage. Yeah, just a bunch of logs and things around. Very simple fencing. Nothing too spectacular here. And then we have the Zoo of Duisburg. This is, I think, also outdated at this point. I saw on the zoo map that the vicuna are now in what used to be the giraffe habitat. So I'm not sure what that looks like, but this was the habitat that I'd seen. Just a mixed vicuna and rhea habitat. I guess when I said that there's a lot of alpaca rhea mixes, I was mostly thinking about the vicuna. Now that I start to think about it, but yeah, just I really quite liked this habitat. I like the simple mode. Sure, nothing bad really happened with the vicuna. I feel like they're a bit more agile. But yeah, next up we have Zoo, which has a beautiful, beautiful habitat. I'm really excited for you to see this one. So we're on this viewing deck with some nice glass walls. There's a terrace over there as well. You can enjoy a nice little snack. There's a lovely food stand nearby here. We can see there's a separate area over here for the rhea, which I'm pretty sure would also be able to get into that other habitat, because there's like more stalls and stuff back there, which might also be for the vicuna. But yeah, just a beautiful grassy field over here with a fantastic looking rock wall in the back there. Yeah, just a gorgeous habitat over here. Nothing else much to say about this one. It's just really, really beautiful. Then we are at Zoo Osnabrück in their kind of South America area, next to the capybara habitat. Actually sharing the same backstage building is a vicuna habitat over here. And you can see it's a very nice long stretch, and they can really pace back and forth if they want. It really does go on for quite a while, and there's multiple viewing areas throughout, like this one over here. And it kind of gives you a lovely view of the entire habitat, as you can see. What's interesting about this one as well is in the back there, in the back corner that you can see straight ahead, is this little pool over here, which makes me wonder if this used to be a tapir habitat, or if the capybara are also able to get into this habitat or something like that. This pool has to have some function, you'd think. I don't know, but speaking of things without a function, over here we are in Pairi Daiza, and there is this netting above the habitat, but this part is not really an aviary anymore, so I don't know what that netting is still doing there really, because it's just an open thing. You can see over there, this path just goes through, and there's nothing that would stop any bird from flying out of here. There are also no birds in here. But yeah, vicuna habitat, pretty simple, kind of boring to be honest. You'd think that Pairi Daiza of all places would have something a bit more fancy than this. It's also a little bit on the small side if you ask me. But yeah, that's just Pairi Daiza. Next up we have Blankendaell, and what's cool about Blankendaell's enclosure is, like what they do with a lot of enclosures actually in Blankendaell, is this little path continuing on into the habitat. Just a very simple effect over there to make this otherwise somewhat dull habitat just a little bit more interesting. Yeah, it does have somewhat of an interesting shape. The back fences are all quite straight, but at least the front part is a bit more playful. But yeah, that's all there is to that one. Then next up we have the Zoo of Wildlands, and we are entering this train over here. You might remember this way back from the Bactrian Camel video. And well, this is also a viewing point of the rhea and vicuna over here. So we can see the rhea, they have their little separation area over here. They were being separated because they had some chicks, as you can see. Very, very cute. I think those are the only rhea chicks that I've ever seen. Yeah, from the train, you've got great views of this habitat, even though the windows are a little bit dirty. But the idea of this train, by the way, for those who haven't seen the camel video, is that this is the hideout of a whole bunch of poachers. So you can see they have like their beds set up. They've got like a kitchen. This is their headquarters. So there's a ton of theming and a ton of elements and props. It's really, really cool and really well done. I absolutely love it. But the habitat itself is also just really cool. I mean, look at all that rock work. And yeah, over here you can see kind of all the boxes of animals that the poachers had. I think they've currently been emptied already because the poachers have been apprehended. Very cool stuff. And yeah, there we go. We've got also some baby vicuna in the video. Very, very nice. And yeah, as you leave the train, you get an outdoor view of this as well. But if you are unable to go through the train, because it is not very wheelchair accessible, there is also a separate path going alongside the habitat, so you can view the terrain from outside as well. And look at that tree, that looks so interesting with the way that all the roots are exposed from all the erosion. Yeah, this is a really cool looking habitat if you ask me. And I don't really have anything else to say about it. It's just really, really awesome. We're currently crossing this bridge, which earlier we saw a keeper come from underneath there. I'm guessing there's a path under the bridge that leads the vicuna also to their backstage, which is kind of fun. But yeah, that's really all there is over here. Just a really solid habitat with great theming, which that's really. Anyway, over here at the Grüne Zoo Wuppertal, we've got a beautiful habitat, if you ask me. Just look at the size of this and the whole slope. This is why I want to build a zoo that's on a hillside, because this is the kind of stuff that is so cool about that. There's also a sign over here about the Patagonian world of animals, and this habitat actually has kind of a Hagenbeck kind of effect that you can see with a habitat in the front and then that vicuna habitat in the back. And that habitat has emu in it, but something tells me that used to have rhea in it as well to kind of get that South America vibes across. It's actually surprising to see throughout this video how many alpaca / vicuna habitats have emus close by or even mixed with them. Even though, yeah, you'd expect that to be a rhea, and it probably maybe is standing in for a rhea. I don't know. That's really quite interesting. But yeah, you can walk all around this enclosure from all sides. So yeah, over here you can see you can also get pretty close up to the little backstage building. Yeah, super awesome. Absolutely love that habitat. Anyway, over here we have the first exhibit of Dierenpark Zie-Zoo, which we also saw for the alpaca, but they also have a vicuna habitat as well. It is right over here at the big South America area, and you can see all the tall grasses and stuff. Really, really awesome. I absolutely love it. And yeah, we're going to take this path that goes in between the two habitats, but there is actually a bridge that we're kind of currently passing. It's under all this rock, is a tunnel going under the path that would be able to be opened up, I suppose, to let the vicuna onto the big habitat as well. I've never seen them there myself, but I guess it should be possible, so that's really cool to think about as well. So this entire habitat could also be for them. I guess it depends on how risky they want to be with the rhea and the emu, not the emu, the anteater. Oh god, I'm caught up in my emus now. But yeah, over here is even a second habitat for the vicuna. I'm not quite sure. I feel like there used to be something else in here, but I don't remember what. There were some people in here feeding the vicuna. But yeah, it's a very simple habitat. It's probably something temporary. I'm not sure why, but hey, there were vicuna in there, so I thought I'd include it anyway. And then over here, I think this is the last zoo of the video. This is Zooparc Overloon. And they also have a vicuna area in their South America area. I'm not sure if this is up to change, because this area is currently kind of being restructured into the kind of Asian jungle area. Clouded leopard habitat is being built right across from this, so maybe these will be moved at some point, or maybe even leave the zoo, I don't know. But yeah, that was it. Those were a whole bunch. I haven't even counted them yet. Alpaca and vicuna habitats. Hope you got some inspiration. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you've been enjoying the Barnyard Animal Pack. The next two videos are actually going to be the ones that I'd already recorded before the pack was announced, and I suddenly had to kind of shift gears. So I hope you're going to enjoy those. First one being the clouded leopard. So look forward to that. See you there, and bye bye.